right, here we go. Week 2 of the blues. Last week we did the basic blues, 1-4-5, couple of variations. This week we're going to do even more variations and get into substitutions. Before next week, where we're going to start to play some famous melodies that were written over blues progressions and start to dig into that a little. So actually in action melodies that go with these blues. We'll start with the 2.2. I called it. That's just for my end on here. There's no rhyme or reason to that except for me to keep it organized for today. As we see, we got the B flat 7 to the E flat 7. Now whenever you see an E flat 7 or a B flat 7 dominant chord type, you can't rule out the ninth. And vice versa. If I write E flat 9 or B flat 9, it's B flat 7 tonality, the dominant tonality. So if I say B flat 7th and you see me hit a ninth chord, that's the reason why. It's all part of the same. All right, and then the B flat 7. Now we're going to introduce the 2-5, all right, which we got into last week a little bit. Now E flat 7. A lot of times too I'll hit the E flat 9, but I'll only be hitting the middle strings. As you know, I'm a big fan of staying in the middle. And then E diminished, which is kind of cool. Now B flat 7 to an E flat 7 to a D minor 7 to a G7. Right, then a 2 and a 5 and then a 1, 6 dominant, C minor 7, F7. Okay, so when we're going from the 1 to the 4 chord, this kind of cool thing is the, which we're going to get into in the later thing, using that E9 to the E flat 7. But let's take one step at a time. I'm already getting ahead of myself. Let's put on this slow track and play these changes, just hitting the chord on the downbeat of when the chord changes. B flat blues, here we go. It's right here. Excellent. Okay. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. F minor 7th, E flat, E diminished, B flat 7, E flat 9, D minor 7, G7. Do you hear that nice movement in there? Those two notes, you hear it going on. That's even if you're doing old school 4 to the bar. Okay, now take a little deeper look here. Gone through this before, but I love this. You have your B flat 7, you put the 13th, and you move that line to your E flat 9, and then back up to B flat 7. It's kind of a cool F minor 7th, B flat 7. Do the same thing. Whenever you have that F7, sharp 9, maybe add that in there. So we're looking at the 2 strings and 1 more note to provide some voice leading. Okay, again, we're kind of applying all we've been doing into this little blues now. So let's give that a shot. And again, if you're not up to that level, just practice getting those 2 string forms and playing these cool substitutions. The rest will come, I assure you. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, B flat 13. F minor 7th. B flat 13. D minor, G7. F7 sharp 9. Give it a try, I'll play some nice melody. Okay, you try playing a little now. Try to target some chord tones and these nice substitutions, especially in here, F minor. Here you have your diminished scale or arpeggio. Now try to hit some chord tones in here. Voice leading in there is pretty clear, D right on down. Voice leading line in there, that's a good one. Okay, so what was I thinking in there, just to talk a little about soloing, using this progression. I'm targeting some voice leading lines, and that's where these substitutions come from. Like, for instance, bar 4, F minor 7, B flat 7, 2 beats each. I know that's a common thing, but if we really target that, we could throw something in there cool that leads us to E flat 7. Now the one bar of diminished, you have your arpeggio, your scale, your patterns. That's the time to throw that in there. Right? And continue with the line, which now that leads me to bar 7. Here's a beautiful voice leading line right there. Right? D, third of B flat, to D flat, which is the 7th of E flat, to D minor 7, to the 3rd of G7, to the 7, 3, and there you are. Okay, remember the general rules of voice leading is one note away, either descending or ascending, or the same note, common tone. So that's the general rule of voice leading, and here's a great case of it. One note away, one note descending becomes the 7th, then the 3rd, then the 7th, 3rd to the root. So that's your kind of your general rule. Up here I was doing the same thing when I got up on the higher octave after the diminished. A for the D minor, flat 9 on the G7th, again good voice leading. And this is why when we're comping we stay off of these strings to allow the freedom for the soloist to choose if they want to use a flat 9 or not. If I'm right here doing this, that allows the soloist to play sharp 9, flat 9, or 9. I'm not hitting the big 9 chord and he's hitting the flat 9. So that's the reason that you want to stay off of the top strings, and just basically for guitar the 3rd and 7th, that's the general rule as well. Okay, so that's what I was thinking for the voice leading lines and trying to play through these changes. Right, is pick the key notes that change. Pick the important ones, figure them out, and base your solo around that. All right, so now let's go on to number 2.3, which is a little bit of an expansion on this 2.2. It just says B flat blues chords 2, etude 2. I know, again, I have so much stuff on my computer. I prefaced it by saying this means nothing, these numbers. It's just, this is what it is. So now we go from B flat, right, to E flat, if we look at the one bar at a time. Okay, we introduce this to the voice leading. Right, now if we use that whole half-step neighbor approach, sometimes referred to as tritone, but I don't like that term. See that? E9, E flat 9. We're filling out the chord now. It's a great substitution. Okay, now if we look at this, great voice leading. We look at it over the 9th, we're used to that move. Now if we put the B flat in the bass, it becomes a B flat, sharp 5, sharp 9, flat 9, leading to the 4 chord. So it's the 5 of 4 with the E in the bass. Just to dissect that little section there. But the way I look at it when I'm playing is one up from the chord I'm going to. I really simplify it. I don't think all that theory. Then I'll throw my pinky out. Great way to do a chord solo too. Okay, now the next bar, I use the opposite approach, taking the lower neighbor. I've heard that a zillion times. That's all it is moving the chord down one fret and into the next chord. So and then we go to the next measure, F minor 7, B flat 7, taking that same concept of the E9. Now I'm putting another extension, the F minor 9, and I would probably do it 3 notes. I wouldn't fill out the whole chord, especially with a rhythm section. All right, so you have your 7th, your 3rd, the middle strings. Now we're adding the 9th. And then just moving these 2 fingers down becomes E9, leading to the E flat 9. So it's kind of the concept of the B flat 13, but now we're putting that 7th in there. Nice parallel movement, and 1 note staying the same. Great substitution for the blues, whether it's solo guitar where you want to fill out all the notes, or you just little subtle comping in there. Okay, now this is kind of cool where we go the E flat 9. Now 2 beats A flat, 2 beats A7, leading into B flat 7. Another great comping. Now we'll go doing the lower neighbor, but 2 lower neighbors, 2 houses away, and then 1 house away, and now you're home. Okay, you've heard that a zillion times too. So in context, okay, well, let me finish up here, then we'll do it in context. Then we have the B flat 7, E flat 9. We went over that. Then we did the D minor 7, G7. Now we're going to continue with the minor 9 concept. D minor 9, D flat minor 9, C minor 9, upper neighbor from the F7, G flat 7, F7, and then the upper neighbor from B flat 7, which is B7. And then B flat, and this turnaround, which was in the previous weeks. Okay? So I'm going to put this on. This is even a slower tempo than the other one, and let's just play the chords as they're happening. Now, I want to preface this where if I'm going to use this progression, or if I'm going to use this, there's a lot of chords here. So I'm going to use it sparingly. I may solo over these changes, but if I'm going to be comping all of these changes, I'm going to really be a nuisance to the soloist. So you got to be careful. These are just examples of substitutions. So there's a lot of mixing and matching that will go on when you're actually in action playing. Okay, 2.3 wave. Here we go. 1, 2, B flat 7, E9, A7. Just hit the chords on every 2 beats here. B flat 7, E9, E flat 9, A7. Screwed that up, sorry. F minor 9, E9, E flat 9, A flat 7, A7, B flat 7, E flat 9, D minor 9. so much you can do over these, because if we really take a closer look, that B flat 7, those middle notes, those middle strings, if we look at that, you have the 7th and the 3rd, flat 7 and 3rd. Now if we make that an E9, these notes stay the same, right? Becomes the 3rd and the 7th instead of the 7th and the 3rd. Okay, now if we start to look at adding the 13th, and that becomes the sharp 9, right, of E. If we look at this one, okay, the same when we're doing the C minor 7 to F7. We have that F7 sharp 9 sharp 5 with a B in the bass becomes the 13th and the 9th. Right? So many common tones where just one bass note gets changed and all the colors change. It's crazy. It's wonderful. So a lot in here. Again, it's too much. If I was going to comp for a blues, I wouldn't throw this many changes in. But it's a good exercise. Okay, even hitting chord tones. So let's try to hit the root of every chord of this. Just the root. 1, 2, 3, Some good voice leading. Do that again. Don't forget, you can do the A flat here and the A down an octave. It doesn't always have to be like here, D, D flat up, C, G flat down, F up, B down. And this is really good practice. Okay, now here's how I'll make some music with it. Okay, that's good. Now if that's not complicated enough, let's move on. And again, this is more advanced blues, stemming from 1, 4, 5, 4, 1. We have to remember that. We stick to those basic concepts even all through these changes. It'll work. Okay, now let's go to the B-flat blues bird style 1. I don't know why I call it bird style. It was used in others, but basically the concept here is using a chord progression, a pattern that gets you to the E flat 9. Okay, so if we look at this, now we go down 1/2 a step and we start doing 2 5s, A minor 7, D7, G minor 7, C7, F minor 7, B flat 7. That becomes the 5 of your 4 chord. Okay, so in time, to the blues again, diminished, E flat 9, D minor 7, G7, same as the other one, but it's those first 4 bars. Okay, so I'm going to put a metronome on real slow, and we're going to just play every 2 beats there, where just when the chords change, we'll hit the downbeat. 1. Now, when it says A minor 7 flat 5, we have to remember, if we're in the middle strings, we're not even thinking about the 5th. So you don't have to squinch your fingers together and to get that difficult inversion. Just leave that string out, play in there. If you're up here, there's your minor 7. Right? And speaking of which, if you're on this A minor 7th, you always have 9th. You always have that going on, right down to the 9th. So you can use that. You can use that same concept, movable form. Okay, here we go. 2, 3, 4. B flat, 2 beats each. A minor, D 7th, G minor 7th, C 7th, F minor 7th, B flat 7th, and to E flat. Let's try that again from the top. 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, one more time. We can use a major 7th on that. Okay, let's bring it up a little bit here to 80, and then we'll put the track, which isn't that much faster than this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, notice I'm right on the inside strings. 1, 2, 3, 4. You hear the harmony, even though I'm just hitting 2 of the notes. Okay, let's keep going. Diminished. B flat. What you can also do in the bar 7, just go down half steps right to the G7. Again, if we look, this E flat 9, if we put the A in the bass, same thing. And then D minor 7th, the substitution, is just going down a half a step. Hear that a zillion times too. So. Okay, let's put the track on and practice up on this a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll start with just the changes. mix and match any of these we've been doing. Like here, I'm going to put the F minor 9, E9. See that? So you can add all that stuff here. Here with the G flat. See, all that can be interchanged. Okay, I'll be quiet now. Play a little bit, trade choruses. Try with the root, play the root of every chord. Okay, now as you noticed in that solo, or may have noticed, kind of did a little pattern, tried to hit the third. Now from here on out, I was just basically doing three notes, those three very important notes of the blues: B flat, G, and D flat. Over diminished, sharp 9 and root of G, 7. Alright, so cool stuff in there, how we could start, you know, mixing and matching the simple blues approach with the more complicated chord changes, just by targeting some chord tones and jumping right back into the comfortable area of the blues. All right, so let's start with just playing the root of each of these changes in the first 4 measures, and then I'm going to leave you alone to play some blues from bars 5 out, using kind of that area. You don't have to stick strictly to 3 notes, but stick to that general idea. Okay, so root notes, and then you're launched right in there in the blues. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. A to D, G, C, F and B flat, and you got it. Stick with some blues. Okay, let's connect the roots now. Here, I'll show you what I mean. octaves. Give it a shot, connecting roots and then blues. Time. Okay, let's trade choruses. Got it. Let's try playing the third of those first four. And now you're on the blues. Let's do that again. Third of every chord. Okay, so we have B flat, we have a D, C, to F sharp, or up there, remember on A minor 7th, to B flat, which is the third of G minor, to E natural, C7th, to A flat, which is F minor, to the third, and that leaves us on the third of E flat, and we're in that blues mode. Okay, let's put it back on, play the third, connect the thirds, and then into the blues. Trade back and forth. Again, next week and the next day or two, I'm going to have 4 or 5 blues heads that are famous blues heads, with great melodies. So I think it would be good to learn some of these classic melodies over the blues. Give me a few days for that. Here we go. Third of every chord, connecting it, and then into the blues. I'll start. you got the last one. All right, good week. Good week. Any questions? Let me know. If anybody